I'm Jean from Ex Libris Crafts, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, please subscribe. I sure would appreciate it. So what we're doing today is we're doing this, and I'm going to explain what these are. This is hopefully going to go into the journal that we're making, the winter journal. This one is, if you can see, I don't know if you can see the sparklies there. This one is done with watercolor paint. You can see, and you can see the depth of the color with the watercolor, the brightness of it. Okay, but if you don't have watercolor paints, we can also do it with inks. This is Distress Oxide. You can see the difference in the color automatically. It has a chalkier look. Distress Oxide with maybe a Simon Hurley in there. So these are the two things we're going to do. Watercolor, Distress Oxide. Let's have some fun. What we need is, this is watercolor paper. I have a pack of it, a pad of it that I bought on clearance. You don't necessarily have to use watercolor paper. Use a heavier, I wouldn't use copy paper, you know, a heavier cardstock, watercolor paper, whatever you want to use. Just have fun, just play. Don't be afraid. We all think we're not good enough for certain things, but art is an expression. So make art. We are all artists. I certainly have no formal training. So anyway, this is, I have not, it's a 9x12 sheet of watercolor paper. I cut it down into quarters. It's a little warped because I put water on it and then I haven't gotten to it. So with watercolor paper, you have a smooth side and then you have more of a textured side. I prefer to work on the smooth side. You can work on the textured side if you want. Do whatever you want. You're in charge. You can also do this with your inks if you have the water-soluble inks like the Distress Oxides or the Simon Hurleys. And maybe in another video I will show it to you with the inks. But right now I'm just doing with watercolors. This is, I've had this for years. I got it at AC Moore years ago. It came with some brushes. Since then, I've added to my watercolor collection and my brush collection and stuff. But I'm just going to use this because I like they're pretty. It's a basic colors. I was using it before, so you can see they're still wet. It's just a basic rainbow. Excuse me. And you can do some, oh, again, like I said, Distress Oxides work just as well. I am going to take this off camera and squirts it down again. And you want the paper just slightly damp because it will help with the moving. Cover that up. I'm sorry if there's glare. Just move some of this water around, and now I might have put too much water on it. It'll just help with the moving of the colors, moving of the paint. I'm going to put those down. Now I'm spritzing. I'm going to spritz some water in there. I'm going to spritz these down some more. This here color, and I don't know what the colors are. You see, that's a bright blue. This is a darker midnighty blue. Can you see? Oh, there goes my dog. She's whining about something. Okay, I just want to make sure you can see everything. Make sure everything's in frame there. So, I don't want, let me add some water for my cup here. There we go. And I don't want the brush to be very wet, but I just want, let's see if we can just throw down a little bit of color here. And again, I think I might have made the paper a little bit too wet. Yeah, because nothing's happening there. All right, I'm just gonna take my paper towel and blot the paper a little bit. Could also be that I don't have enough. Let's take a look and see. Might need just a little bit more color there. Okay, let's see. Try it in the corner. Okay, there we go. And I'm just going to go in a bit of a motion like that. And that's all I'm doing. Just a little bit with a very wide flat brush. Now, I'm also, before I'm done, let me take that brush, gets a lot of that water off of there. What I want to do down here on the bottom is put in a little bit of shadow as well. Let's see if let's try not to ruin it, Karen Jean. A little bit more water. Just a little bit of shadow for the snowbank. And I know you're not going to be able to see that on camera. It's barely there, barely there. Okay, this is a number 6 brush. And you can use any brushes. You don't have to. All different brush makers they make brushes for all different types of painting, watercolor, acrylic, oils, all of that. And they have the lesser expensive brushes for like the beginners, and then they get more expensive as the brush quality increases, obviously, all the way up to like expert level. I usually I don't get the beginner brushes. I usually get like a little bit more expensive brush. Okay, see, now that's dark. Now what I'm doing here, this already might be a little bit too dry. What I'm doing here is, let me see. Oh, it's always a good idea to have a scratch paint. It's a little bit dry. Okay. Is I'm going to take this. There we go. Ooh, very bright. Put a little bit of water down. It's a good idea to have this so you can test it out before you actually put it on what you're working on. So you could do it on paper towel, but paper towel's not going to be the same thing. So you want a little scratch piece there. Okay, there we go. Maybe a little bit darker. And I'm just going down and pulling it out. Now I'm just not, that's pretty much a straight line. You can also do where kind of, now remember, we're talking about pine trees growing in a, growing in a forest here where it's the old adage of, if a tree falls in a forest and nobody's there to hear it kind of thing. I'm picking up just a touch of green here, just to give it a little bit of, get a little bit of dimension. All right. Now I'm going to go back into my blue. This is getting very dark, isn't it? Which is fine because, it's a winter tree. I think I'd like to make him a little fatter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come out here and I'm going to make him a little fatter. Like so. And then I'm just going in with the brush. Giving a little bit of texture. I'm losing my shape over there. Come in here. Just pull it away. Pull it away from the paper. Like so. A little bit of, I'm not going to be using any browns or anything because my tree is very full. It's also losing its dimension. So I'm going to go back in here and give it a little bit of dimension with a little bit layering the paint. Now, see if we can get something here. Now it's pretty wet, so I think I'm going to want it to dry a touch. Now also there's another thing, which if I took out my palette, I could do, because you know how I like the sparklies, and I have this iridescent medium, which is sparkly, which you add to watercolor paints. It says mix with watercolors or apply over dry wash to give iridescent glitter effects. And I use it a lot when I'm dyeing paper. I put a little bit in the dye solution because I like to have my papers a little bit glistening. So if we did something like that, we could, you know, make it look sparkly and like snow or something. But so there's our tree. It's that simple. Now, I might want to do a little something with that snowbank. I'm taking my brush, trying to make sure I don't have any color on it. Let's go here into the white. All right, pick up some white. And again, we don't want to ruin our piece. Let's squirt these down. But what's nice about when you use the bricks is you can just squirt them down and then they just dry back. You don't have to worry about, you know, getting the water off of them before you just let them sit. The water will evaporate and they'll dry back up. Okay, so I'm doing it over here on this piece, and because it's white on white, you can't see it. So this is still rather damp. I'm going to start over here in a corner, just in case I come into, see, that still is very wet. Come in here, pull some of it up. And see, did I ruin my tree? Quite possibly. Quite possibly. Go. We need to let it dry. And I will take a different brush. Let's see what I have here. I have a very small brush here. My goodness. Artist Loft. See, they're all different types of brushes. I have no idea when I got them. Let's see if we can just cover that bit up with white. There we go. And there we have a tree. Okay, so what I decided to do was to try out the iridescent medium. What I did was I put a very small drop over here. Can you see the sparklies? Right? And I put in some of that color. It might not be enough, and let's just see what happens. There we go. As I just to give it some glitter and shade to make it look like maybe there's some snow happening up there. Of course, it's still rather wet. Voila. Over here, I've already laid down some Blueprint Sketch and Stormy Sky Distress Oxides because you need them to be able to move with water, and I've squirted them already. I am taking my big brush here, going into some Stormy Sky and just making a stormy sky with that. Now, I don't know how much of that you can see because it's a very pale color. And this light is glaring on me too, so I don't know how much I can see of it. And sorry about the glare. I turned off my overhead light because I thought that was causing a lot of problems, but I don't know. All right. So there's that. There's our stormy sky. Now I'm going in with my number 6 brush. Getting that for many people, you don't have watercolors, but you have the inks that are water soluble. So now you have watercolors. And I'm just, now see, this is a much different blue than the watercolor paint I had was. It's a, well, it's a distress oxide, so it is a bit chalky, right? Let's see if we give our tree a little bit of dimension here. And I'm just putting it down and pulling it up. And depending upon if you use the tip of the brush or the side of the brush, it will tell you. See, I'm using the side of the brush there, so my brush strokes are fatter, wider, right? And then if I go in with the tip of the brush, they are more narrow, which is just makes sense, does it not? However, this tree looks rather wonky, doesn't it? Let's see what we got. Go in here, get some of this. Now, I would have used a Simon Hurley because I find Simon Hurley inks are brighter. They don't have the chalky finish as the Distress Oxides do. And truth be told, I prefer a non-chalky finish. So let me put that in there. So there's not a whole lot of dimension there. Now, what I could do, I was just thinking I could use a little bit of my iridescent mediums like I did with the watercolors. But no. Let's do a little bit of Stormy Sky. Usually you put dark on top of light. Let's see what we got here. Don't think we have much of anything. You put the light down first and you build it up. When you're layering, you build up with the lighter to the darker on top. Let's try some Salty Ocean. Oh, might not be the right one. Let's put it down there on that pad. Might not be the right color at all. Let's test it out. It's just a different blue. Okay, that's fine. I don't know if you can see this over here. You can't, sorry. This is my scratch piece of, put it up here. So let's do a little bit of Salty Ocean. There we go. Back in here to my blueprint. Sketch, maybe do a little bit of. Now you see how over here it's kind of, it got a little bit too much water, or more water there. I don't want to say too much water, more water over here than over here. And that's okay, because what we can do is we can build up the shadowing in a snowbank. Maybe there's some snow on top of that. Added some water down here to kind of blend it out. Let's go back in here with this brush, which is what we were using. Let's go down here. We don't want to. There we go. Put in some shadow. Still looks like it's missing something though, doesn't it? It looks like it's missing something to me. And I think it's probably the depth of color. This is the one we did with the actual watercolors, and see how vibrant that blue is. And here, when it dries down with that chalkiness. Does it even look like a tree? Why not? Little fake plant. This is a very small brush that I'm using here. Oh well. There's another version. The watercolor version. The Distress Oxide version with a little bit of Simon Hurley mixed in.